presidency from 2012 to 2017, the relationship between the European Union, EU and Ghana was characterized by cooperation in various areas, including trade, development assistance, governance, and regional stability. Now, fast forward 2017 to 2024, we saw the leadership of the former president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. EU-Ghana relations expanded to various areas. Fast forward 2025, we have the former president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, taking back the Flagstaff House. We would like to know about EU-Ghana relations, and of course we want to know whether priorities are going to be based on what started under the administration of the former president, or it's just going to be business as they continue with the key areas of interest between the two parties. To help us delve into this conversation is the EU head of the EU delegation here in Ghana, His Excellency Ichad Ramiandrasa Razali, and we will be talking extensively on EU-Ghana relations under this administration. My name is Harriet. I'll take a break. When I come back, I will introduce my guest in a bit. The show is Diplomatic Affairs. As I mentioned, my guest is the head of delegation of the EU here in Ghana, His Excellency Ichad Ramiandrasa Razali, and we will be talking about EU's continuous relations with Ghana under this current administration. Of course, we know that we have a new government under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and we would like to know what the priorities are going to be when it comes to relations between the EU and Ghana. Relations have indeed expanded, and we would like to learn more about where we are right now with this current administration. Now, just to highlight a few areas during 2012 to 2017 under Mahama's administration, we saw the Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA, which Ghana signed, and we want to know how things are fast forward. We also saw the Development Cooperation, and we saw the Governance and Human Rights Initiative and support for regional security. Security is very important, key when it comes to relations between the European Union and Ghana, and also aid for trade and poverty reduction. So like I said, relations have advanced since 2012 to 2017, and fast forward under the former president, the former president's administration, we've realized that we have moved from 2017 to 2024. Now that NDC is back in power with the leader, John Dramani Mahama, what are we to expect? Welcome to Diplomatic Affairs, Excellency. It's always a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you, and welcome to the residence.
School me here. How does it work when there's a new administration? Is it something that you get to sit with the government and you review the various areas of interest when it comes to relations between, let's say, the EU and Ghana? In this case, how are things going to play out? Obviously, all the initiatives are good. They are good for the development of the country, and it's a win-win kind of relationship between the two parties. How does it work?
You know me, so I'm a very pragmatic person.
Right.
And of course, by definition, we conduct contact with everyone, ongoing leadership, past leadership, potential future leadership, opposition. We are speaking to everyone. And of course, the moment President Mahama has been elected, you have seen I was one of the first ambassador that he received, which is a very appreciated gesture from our side, because it's a recognition that the European Union is considered one of the key partners to the country.
Relations are very cordial.
Very cordial, I would even say very, very constructive, very positive, very, over the years, there are no reason why the relations are not cordial with the past administration and with the incoming administration. The other element is President Mahama made us the privilege to sit down with me and my fellow ambassadors of the member states, the 10 of them, to have a more in-depth discussion on what in our views as the European Union and what in his view as the upcoming president are key elements in which we agree to focus our efforts. So, as I said, investment was a key element. Job creation has been an element that the president has come up with and which resonates very much with what we are doing as the European Union and the member states. And we have as well signaled some areas where there were a lot of progress and new commitment that we would like to continue. Vaccines is one, for example. Security is another one. I'm not saying that the rest is not important, but just to highlight especially elements that were new from the previous, I would say, state of engagement between the European Union and Ghana under the first Mahama administration. And there is a very good, I would say, understanding about those elements. We have signaled our interest even to deepen this partnership. We will have political dialogue, but maybe we can have specific sectoral dialogues in order to deepen the conversation and the partnership, because as I said, the partnership has been very broad, very deep, and each and every topic merits specific attention. And you know, you can improve marginally here and there. So this is something we want to listen as well and to understand better exactly where the president wants to drive this partnership, because this is something which is key. I don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, let's do that, because something come to my mind. No, it's a partnership. So Ghana is in the driving seat, I would say. We would like to do this, especially with you, because we believe you have something to bring on the table. We'd like to do that in a different way or in this specific way, because we believe this is something, this way will drive more benefit to us as a country. And once again, we are speaking about agriculture, which is one of the largest engagement of the European Union. Agriculture is job creation, is food, is local culture, is environment, is sustainability, is trade. So it's broad. It's a broad thing. It's one of the reasons why we are invested so much, and we can do much more. And for example, we need the drive of the government to say, these are the type of things we need to do in this area because so and so. These are not things that I will invent or my experts will invent. So we are here as well to listen and to understand better where this partnership wants to be driven by the government.
So EU-Ghana relations or partnership is actually working together with the government, where the two parties sit and draw the areas of interest, priorities or initiatives. I call them interventions. The two parties work together through it all for the benefit of the country. And it's a mutually beneficial when it comes to relations between the EU and Ghana. We've been on the ground. We've seen what they are doing together in the various areas. Security is one of the areas that is very huge when it comes to EU's relations with Ghana, and also, like he mentioned, agriculture and quite a number of things. Culture and scholarship. Erasmus scholarship is one of the biggest when it comes to relations between the EU and Ghana. Excellency, where do we go from here as we wrap up? What are we to expect under this administration?
A very important element. I think with the administration, it's clear. We will listen to and we'll see how to adjust the partnership. When I say adjust, with an appetite on our side to even deepen it. Another element which is key, of course, we are working with a state, we are working with an administration, but something which is here to stay and which will not change and even increase is our engagement with the civil society. We have tens, if not hundreds, of NGOs and different associations which are partnering with us, And this is there to stay because there is a lot of appetite in the civil society realm, and they are making a contribution which is complementary and different to what an administration is making. And this is a key element, given as well the profile of Ghana, an open society, a democracy, a place where there is a space for the civic and the civil society. Another element on which we will make a contribution or continue to make a contribution as well is the private sector. Local private sector. I think it's very important that your viewers understand that our key partner is the local, for example, Association of the Ghana Industries.
Right.
Okay? But as well, as I said, we want, and this is the wish of the former president, this is the wish of the new president, to increase the presence and the investment of European business as well, because they can come with solutions and they can come with new technologies, different type of areas, you know, water, sanitation, building, construction, technology, energy, and not the old-fashioned energy, but the new ones based on, you know, clean hydrogen, etc., 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 because they can contribute as well to this diversification of the Ghanaian economy, which still mostly is commodity-based and wishes to transform better. And then as well, the investment, as I said, will come with opportunities for job creation, growth stimulation, acceleration of, you know, moving Ghana even forward in terms of economic advancement. There were reasons beyond governments or leaderships why we have invested in vaccines, why we are investing in scholarships, why we are investing in technical vocational training, because, you know, key challenge in this country, in many countries in Europe, is job creation.
Right. So
stimulating economic growth, stimulating job creation, having a people-centered approach. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
We are working together to improve the fate of people. It's not just abstraction. It's not just figures. We want to change the lives of the Aminata, the Kweku, the whoever.
All right. So can we wrap up?
I'm in your hands.
All right. I think we have covered the essentials when it comes to our conversation today. Basically, it appears that nothing is going to change when it comes to EU-Ghana relations under this current administration. Nothing
except even better things.
Right, nothing except better, even better things. So we can only grow bigger and stronger together. Excellency, thank you so much for availing yourself on this special segment of the Diplomatic Affairs TV show. Hello there, you're welcome to the only show that brings you happenings in the world of diplomacy and international relations. This is your go-to place for all the issues trending in Ghana's diplomatic community and the rest of the world. My name is Harriet NARTEY. The show comes off on Pan-African television every Saturday between the hours of 4:20 to 5:20 p.m. We are also global via Facebook and YouTube. So like I always say, wherever you find yourself, you can catch up with us and get to know what is happening in this area. Well, today is another beautiful day. Beautiful in the sense that we are following the trends in international relations, and of course this is with a focus to Ghana's interest when it comes to the African continent. Africa cannot develop without African unity. All hands on deck. Multilateralism is key when it comes to the continent's development. Therefore, if there is any kind of tension with any country, it is important that the African Union actually looks at the issue and see how best they can resolve the issue. Now, when we come back home, we are talking about the regional bloc, which is the economic community of West African states. And we are looking at the President of the Republic of Ghana's keen interest in fostering relations with all neighboring countries. In this regard, we are referring to Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. By now, I'm sure you are used to the new phrase, which is the Alliance of Sahel States. So in focus, that will be what we will be discussing on today's show. My guest is already seated, and I will take a break. When I come back, I will introduce him to you, and then we will start the conversation. Welcome back. The show is still Diplomatic Affairs. My guest is already seated. Like I mentioned, our conversation is going to be around the Alliance of Sahel States, which is Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And of course, sitting here with us to help us really understand what the President of the Republic of Ghana seeks to achieve when it comes to multilateralism on the African continent, multilateralism, of course, at the regional level, is Dr. Vladimir Antwi Danso, former Dean and Director of Academic Affairs, the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He's one of our go-to persons when it comes to issues around this particular area, diplomacy and international relations. So he's not new to our platform. We are highly privileged to have him joining us once again. Doc, thank you so much for your time. It is always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
I'm excited always having you to converse with.
Thank you so much. How have you been?
I'm good. Catching on in age, but I'm good.
Catching on in age. Yes. You are retired. It's a mouthful for me to say. Yes. I can't believe you are on retirement. What are you doing with your life after retirement?
It's somehow not very interesting, actually. You know, you take yourself out just one day off the normal schedules that actually make you a man. And then you begin to ask yourself, what else are you going to engage yourself in? But I think I planned well, so I'm happy.
You're happy?
I'm happy, yes.
Well, I wish you well.
Thanks.
I'm happy that we can always access you
anytime
when it comes to, you know, getting through to you to help us understand some of these issues.
It's my field. It is what built me.
Absolutely.
So I think I would be ungrateful to God if I don't also
give back to society.
Exactly.
We are highly honored. Now, Doc, we have been reading the news, monitoring information being disseminated out there, and one of the areas that is of interest to us as Diplomatic Affairs is the President of the Republic of Ghana's frequent visits to the Alliance of Sahel States, and I'm talking about Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. If I should take you back briefly, you know, when the regional bloc actually took these three countries out of ECOWAS because of their decision to forgo the democratic approach to taking care of their country or running their countries. And so the three junta-led leaders have boycotted ECOWAS. That meeting or that decision was made here in the capital, Accra,
yes,
when heads of state and government met here right here at Kempinski to eventually make this difficult decision in trying to get them to, you know, reverse or come back to the democratic rule, which is one of the models of governance that we all understand. I am curious because I am wondering, why is the President of the Republic of Ghana so keen on rebuilding relations with these three countries? And it started with his inauguration when he invited the junta-led, you know, Burkinabe to actually be part of the inauguration. That was strategic. I don't want to say that that was just mere you know, invitation extended to him, but I believe the President was trying to put a message out there. Please help us unpack this.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. You have done the whole analysis already virtually. The point is this, that multilateralism is the vogue of the day. There is hardly any country that does not belong to any multilateralist organization. One will, RTAs, we call them, regional trading arrangements, we call them. And ECOWAS started way back in 1975 trying to build an economic unit on the model of Europe, EU. The going has not been easy, it has been tough. Now, multilateralism also means that you have common strategies, common protocols, which everybody must, obey, adhere to. ECOWAS has a protocol, I think it's 2001 protocol, which states categorically that it would not tolerate unconstitutional change of government. So any attempt at unconstitutional changes, ECOWAS comes in. It happened in Togo, it happened in Gambia, you know, and advice is given. They have a way of trying to bring the country back on track. Unfortunately, between 2012 and 2022, there were a series of events that created a condition for coups to happen in Africa. In Mali, the junta that took office in 2012, I have personally said that in spite of the protocol that, does not like unconstitutional change of government, at times some of the constitutional changes may be necessary. In 2012, if the junta had not taken over power in Mali, the rebels would have taken over Mali by the time ECOWAS said they were preparing to go and help. You know, it was the French intervention that helped Mali to be Mali. You know, and I have said that we should watch. We just don't have to say unconstitutional change of government. Are we saving the system or saving individuals or saving, what are we doing, our kind? Because he's a president elected popularly and that sort of things, we're saving him. What about the state? There are two types of coups we should be watching. Those of us who are following these things. The 60s, 70s, and perhaps the 80s, the coups that happened, the post-independence coups that happened, were coups that were orchestrated from outside especially. And they were coups I call conspiratorial coups.
As a result of external factors.
Exactly. The CIA was there, the KGB was there, and every coup aligns itself with some patron. And we know that Nkrumah was overthrown by the CIA. The classified documents show.
Recently, that was revealed by the president at the independence celebration of our country.
And that was very true. We have seen those declassified documents. They were here, through Bush, the senior Bush. He was then the deputy ambassador over here, and he was the leader of whatever happened so that Nkrumah should be overthrown. Those were conspiratorial coups, and it's easy to make those ones. You call your platoon mates, those you studied with at the junior training schools and whatnot, and then you make a coup, and then the generals come to salute you. Those were the days, and they were bloody. Most of them were very bloody coups. If you watch out, especially between 2019 and 2022, the coups that happened in Africa throughout were made by generals. And at most places, no gun was fired. There were coups that saved the system from implosion. Nothing was working. There was no constitutional order. Institutions were not working. People were on the streets. Soldiers are killing them. Police are killing them. In such a situation, you need somebody to save the situation. And so what happened in Mali, Guinea, Burkina, and Niger, and Gabon, all these coups were made by very senior officers who were very close to the head of state. And they took over power quietly like an egg. And the population spontaneously just, cracked to it. If you watch such a situation, then you must know how to deal with them. Unfortunately, we went just using the cane, we just went straight away.
Without taking into consideration the situation.
Absolutely. They didn't think of what these things I'm describing now. So quickly, we suspend you, no trade with you, banking, whatever. It's like we deprive them of their membership of the association. It's agreed because that is the law. That's what we ourselves have made. So it must be seen to be obeyed. So we treated them with knocks, which were terrible to. And what worried me was that ECOWAS was discriminatory. You know, the way they treated Mali was not the way they treated Niger, and the way they treated Niger was not the way they treated Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso was the least, in the sense that they treated Burkina Faso with kids' gloves. Whilst Mali, they were stringent on them, and in Niger worse. We even told Niger that we were coming within a week, which was a lie though. From where I sit, it is just impossible to move troops within a week for an external theater. It's just impossible. So we gave all those threats, but they bluffed. They could just see that we were doing the bidding of some external benefactor, and the suspicion was that it was France. If you watch out, these three countries have noted that France is their whatever it is, you know. So they have, exactly, and then they hated the way the French people have treated them all along. They wanted to sever ties with France, and ECOWAS is on the left, also giving some blows. And that was the beginning of things to come, and that was why they came together, that their security. What we have found in research also is that no multilateral organization can survive if it doesn't have a community security. NATO offers that community security to EU.
Yeah.
In the sense that when even Yugoslavia was burning, which is not part of EU, NATO set itself the right to go and stop the nonsense. So we need a community security. We tried it when we set up the ECOMOG to serve as a community security, but we dismantled it. So we don't have a community security. And these three countries believe that without a community security, they're also doomed. ECOWAS is coming to fight them. France is on their heels. They must have a community security. So you saw that they started putting their armies together in defense. They said a defense communique, you know, to put their three armies together. That you attack one, you attack the three. From that defense community, they decided that why don't we have our own multilateral organization, trading together and whatnot, and still open even our doors to non-members, Ghana, what you call it, Benin, Nigeria, everybody who wants to trade with us, fine. And we are so intrinsically linked that they took a very wise decision. And when they have done this, ECOWAS saw that they misapplied the protocols. So this is the time to talk peace. If you watch out, the president of ECOWAS is now asking them to rethink, and that the doors are open, they can come back within 3 months, they should be rethinking. And my little article I wrote, I was saying that this is the time to use diplomacy as the best tool for peacemaking. ECOWAS should not continue to use the threats. And I believe that our president is using that carrot called diplomacy to be able to bring them back. Because look, it is 70% of the land mass of ECOWAS that is gone. 70%. Not of the economic might, but 70% of the land mass of ECOWAS is gone. It doesn't bode well. And then it's attractive. There is a possibility that Benin,
other countries might join.
Senegal is a big candidate. People don't know this. It's a big candidate because the sort of trade they have with these three countries, you are not aware. And any of us who knows that somebody comes as a president in Ghana and says, let me also join because it's a more attractive kind of. And you know, they are being led by charismatic people also. If you check the World Economic Outlook and see what Niger's outlook would be by 2026 and Burkina in 2025.
It is impressive.
Very, very impressive. So why wouldn't it be attractive to other people to join? And then ECOWAS is the loser. So this is the time to use a kind of shuttle diplomacy. Shuttle diplomacy is the frequency of visiting and talking. So what our president is doing is called shuttle diplomacy. He goes, comes back, and goes again. Shuttling between the capitals and talking. You know, not coercing, but talking. Again, there is something we call in diplomacy, diplomatic offensive. That is when you pressurize somebody through subtle means for him to accept what you think is the best. And Nkrumah uses it a lot.
Not use force.
Not use force. Nkrumah tried to push a lot of our diplomats out there to expose Ghana. So Ghana became something throughout the world. That's an offensive kind of diplomacy. We call it diplomatic offensive. So I think our president is using these two lines. One, diplomatic offensive, and again, shuttle diplomacy. And he believes that this is the way to go. And again, it is part of our national kind of philosophy. Nkrumah set it up, and no government has ever been able to change it, whether it is military government or civilian government. Our foreign policy is pivoted on 4 major principles. The first is Pan-Africanism, and you rightly put it there. Pan-Africanism, good neighborliness. Every country in the world is our neighbor, and especially the immediate environment. Non-alignment and multilateralism. So our president is following these principles to the letter. One, Pan-Africanism. We are all Africans. Please, let's come together. Africa must unite. Kind of, let's leave non-alignment. But then good neighborliness, he's using it very strongly. And multilateralism. So he's using 3 out of the 4 pillars in trying to bring about a peaceful resolution of whatever conflict there is between us and the 3 nations that have now come together. And I think it's a commendable thing. We must applaud him.
Interesting perspective there, Doc. Now, let me get very practical with my next question. My follow-up question will therefore be, you talked about the attractiveness in the making of the Alliance of Sahel States, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Now, these 3 countries have come together as a unit, as a community, and they are pushing their agenda. Exactly what do they want? They want to create wealth for their countries. They want to develop to that kind of level where they are self-sufficient, they rely on themselves, and they also can call the shots. As you look at these key indicators, you would realize that they are on course. They know what they are about. But isn't that the reason for which ECOWAS was established in 1975?
That is the basic reason why ECOWAS was established.
For the commonalities of the region.
Exactly.
So if ECOWAS has failed in certain areas in accomplishing its ultimate, objectives or aims, then someone has to put ECOWAS in check. That means that ECOWAS is not really acting in a manner that it can call the shots.
You are very right. And the very essence of their exit is what we are describing. And in multilateralism, in regional trade arrangements like ECOWAS, or in economic integration like ECOWAS, SADC, or whatever it is, individual countries look for what they think they will benefit from in the collective, which would inure to their benefit, economic especially, benefit. And if these things are not forthcoming, they have a right to move.
What is the point?
What is the point? It happened with Brexit.
Absolutely. When British thought that the UK thought that they were not getting the rewards or the benefits, they had to just
pull out. And these 3 countries pulled out. And there are always some commonalities that either bring people together, countries together, or put them apart. In their case, the pull factors were too strong. Aridity, for example, all right, common economic problems, common socio-cultural problems, and then jihadism. They are all facing these things.
Security threats
and everything. And ECOWAS is not in a way, helping. So if I'm in a group, a company, and I'm always suffering, and I'm not being assisted even to tackle my problems, but when I find a way of tackling my problems, I'm being threatened. Of course, nobody now, and that is what ECOWAS has realized. When I listen to the president's speech.
Do you think ECOWAS has come to a realization? I
think so, because if you listen to the speech of the president of the ECOWAS Commission, he was I've never seen him that sober. So sober, he chose his words very carefully. And it was very reconciliatory. And this alone is indicative of the very fact that ECOWAS has realized that it picked the wrong channels, it picked the wrong signals, it picked the wrong method of bringing these countries back. The threats, the innuendos, and all that. And I tell you, from the speeches of especially Niger and Mali, you could see that they had a feeling that it was somebody's long hand which was telling ECOWAS to do that, and it's not ECOWAS which was doing that. And that's a bitter feeling. If I feel that my partner is treating me the way he's treating me because a person who is not part of us
is influencing
the decision.
The decision.
But ECOWAS has realized it, and that is why. And I think quietly they may be supporting what President Mahama is doing, quietly. Obviously, most of us were saying that this is the time to use that kind of diplomacy. And in that article that I was talking about, I recommended the use of track 2 diplomacy.
Right.
Diplomacy where, because they may have been annoyed with almost every head of state along the coast. So why don't you use track 2 diplomacy? Eminent persons who would talk to them and they would listen. Sanusi and others, you know, the Chamberses, you know, the hosts. These are the people we need to be using. But the president has taken the stage, and I believe he's going to succeed. And like you rightly said, he is well measured in what he's doing. He's diplomatic. Remember, he's been ECOWAS president before.
Right.
He's been part of the making of AU and everything. The AU parliament, he's been there before. So this is an experienced person, and he meticulously chose the steps. First, inviting Traore to the
inauguration
is significant for the Association of Silent States. Significant. Oh, the man has invited one of us, and he was allowed to carry his sidearm, come and embrace. Look at the ovation he got from the Ghanaians.
That was symbolic.
It's very symbolic to say that, hey, look,
that was trust. Yes. We saw the display of trust. We saw the brotherliness,
the respect,
the oneness.
Exactly.
Shared, the family.
Exactly.
You know, which I think after this visit, I read a few, you know, stories, reports here and there where a certain community shared their concern around the approach in creating that flexibility for him to have even, you know, shown up with his, you know, sidearm. Right. And they had concerns with, you know, some of these things.
A lot of your colleagues called me and expressed such concerns.
Exactly. Yes. We wanted to understand what it meant, because that was out of protocol, what we are used to. And so we wanted to understand how things were playing out in this, you know, context. Why was the environment so relaxed for him to have, you know, been allowed in?
We outside, I told your colleagues, we outside might think the atmosphere was relaxed. The atmosphere, the security was tight, strong. Don't think he was just given to come and display whatever it is. Under normal circumstances, where a head of state is visiting another country, his security is taken over by the host country. So negotiations are made where you pass the entourage and everything is discussed. Our security and their security must have discussed this to the fullest. They might have asked permission for him to carry his sidearm because it is part of his dressing. Without that, there is no way he would have been allowed to carry his sidearm onto the stage. And again, knowing very well that we just wanted to pave the way for future discussions from our president, we may have relaxed this, but then our eyes were closed to everything. So people shouldn't be worried so much that, oh, we gave him what, and that's not true. Our security is not that very stupid to just allow anybody to carry a sidearm to go and meet our president. Everything must have been discussed. Everything must have been put in order. How he himself should behave, how our security was also behaving, and things like that. So nobody should think that he just arrived and walked in. There's nothing. No, security must have discussed this fully. And since he got that reception it will be easier in a post-ante situation for our president to now leverage on what he has given him, to be able to talk to him and demand things also. So I believe it was not for nothing that he was given that ambience, you know, to come to Ghana and feel free.
Right.
As if we were working in his Burkinabe country.
Territory.
Yes, territory.
Doc, my concern again will be what is left of ECOWAS at this moment, because we are all looking at if this new bloc, newly established bloc, which is the Alliance of Sahel States, seems to be more, you know, attractive and appealing and promising than ECOWAS, which should have done better and have come of age to have known what to do in situations like this, or acted better. What is left of ECOWAS?
Two things can happen.
Doesn't that diminish the trust and confidence reposed in ECOWAS?
It does. It does. It is a huge jolt to the toddling steps of ECOWAS. It's a huge jolt. Two things can happen. Either the alliance solidifies and ECOWAS remain, the remnants of ECOWAS remain as it is, and then we have two different multilateralist organizations, economic bloccs in West Africa. It's not.
Is that allowed?
It should be allowed. It's allowed. Even if it's not allowed, it's already happening. There are multiple organizations in Africa. A small continent of, it's a big continent, but we have 35 different small such organizations which you may not know, of the 55 countries, and multiple membership. That's what the AU was trying to work on, to ensure that we have the 5 that we started with in 1991. But if, even in West Africa, you know, we had the UEMOA, the French-speaking countries, as one unit. It was an economic unit also. And then we had ECOWAS. So embedded in the bowel of ECOWAS was this UEMOA. And we were side by side working together and trying to see how we can merge to get a common currency and that sort of thing. So there is that possibility that AES will be stronger and stay as it is, and then the rest of ECOWAS will be ECOWAS. The next thing which can happen is that AES can be, or can make itself stronger and stronger, and several other countries will move away from ECOWAS, as I already indicated. There are candidates, you could see them. But for the feud between Niger and Benin, I think by now Benin must have joined already. But there is some political feud, you know, which they're trying to solve. I see Senegal as a complete candidate because of some of the things that the president of Senegal started saying, and the strong trade ties between Senegal and Mali. I can see it already. If Senegal moves, Guinea will follow. They are all French speaking.
That will be the end of the regional bloc.
Exactly. On the other hand, the second thing that can happen is ECOWAS gathers momentum because the countries are few, works hard to get a common currency in 2-3 years, and we are doing better. Then these countries would want to return, seeing that ECOWAS is doing well. So these are the two options.
So will I be right to state that this is a good challenge for ECOWAS?
Of course. Every mishap is a challenge, which you have to surmount and come back to yourself. In life, that is what happens. And note, I've always warned people. I have my friend Musa in Nigeria, that is he's a Ghanaian, but the man in charge of political affairs. He believes in the forceful approach to things. And I said, look, in life generally, and in integration especially, the dictum is there, clear. You get what is feasible, not what is ideal. Ideal, you be an idealist. As I sit down here, I wish I had a helicopter aircraft, which is my personal one. I fly left, right, center. It's an ideal. It's something, you know, an idealism. Continue to remain idealism. You know, an ideal situation, you say, we're going to America where there is a honey and milk. You go there before you realize that Ghana is better than America. So you get what is feasible in integration. What is not feasible, don't try and manufacture it. That's what ECOWAS was trying to manufacture. Big conferences, big protocols, implementation. We signed a protocol for non-interference in the political affairs of countries. When Ouattara did that, what did we do? Change the constitution. It's worse than a military coup. And it's been there up till now. Worst of all, when Mali happened, the person we sent to go and talk to the junta was Ouattara. Come to think of it.
It doesn't sit well.
Absolutely. And that angered them the more. Or when your own kind, civilians ruling and usurping the constitution, they do it, then ECOWAS is quiet. But when me as a soldier, I do it, then your nerves come. These are part of the variables that created the condition for their anger.
So the rules must apply to
exactly,
everyone.
Exactly.
Isn't this going to destabilize the region's aspirations regarding growth, development, advancing to the next level? Isn't this a distraction at this point? Do we need all of this at this point?
It is a distraction, but an inevitable distraction. An inevitable one as such, as we have described all along. But maybe it's a distraction, but maybe it is a positive thing that will make ECOWAS rethink and recalibrate. Maybe, who knows, the three countries are going to be so strong economically that we'll all rather benefit. Because integration is inevitable when outliers will have to trade with you. It may create conditions. Look at Niger, what has created the condition for them to be leaping or leapfrogging. France was buying uranium from Niger at 0.80, that is not even €1, 0.80 per kilo of uranium. You know, it's the base for nuclear, whatever it is, and electricity and that kind of thing. So France is lit all along, and Niger is in darkness. As soon as the junta came to power, they've increased 1 kilo of uranium to €200. And things are happening. So I'm saying, it may be a jolt, it may be something which puts brakes on our movement to achieve our objectives, 75 objectives. But then, in life, such jolts, you see, the beauty of life is your ability to bounce back, knowing where you misstepped. And so ECOWAS must now sit up.
ECOWAS must now sit up. It seems the people have embraced this new leadership. Isn't that also problematic, because that would mean that coups are being legalized in a way?
I talk to my colleagues, intellectuals, and they think I'm crazy. I ask myself, who cares when there is a coup and the coup leader knows where he's taking his country, than a Democrat who is lying all the time and asking,
and lost.
Where do we go? Where is the next? I'm asking you to participate. Where do we go? When in essence, that so-called leader is pocketing himself with all the goodies of the country. So I personally say that don't let us interfere in any country's way of life. The coups happen in those countries. The people have embraced them. They're helping to go. Leave these countries to find their own paths to development, to find their own paths to governance. Let us not sit down here and design models of democracy for them. What is democracy in it?
But there is a model per the ECOWAS Charter.
Yes.
There are protocols.
There are protocols.
Right.
Who designed those models? And for whom were they designed? We sit down here, we talk of Ghana, a democracy, blah, 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 blah. Only yesterday, I was talking to some 2 ambassadors, foreign ambassadors. They come and see our lines, beautiful lines. We have humor in Ghana. We were chatting and MDC and MPP teasing each other left and right. We go and vote. And then elections are declared. We call it free and fair in Ghana. We are doing well. How fair is our election? Every year. We are tolerant to keep it. How many times have you, the journalists, not told us how many people were bribed to go and vote? How many people were bashed from one polling station to another? How much do MPs spend on their campaigns? You call that free, fair democracy? And we are tolerant with that. When these things mount up, and then the whole democratic fabric is derailed, then we are crying. I'm saying there's no... Look at even Trump. He said he didn't lose the elections. Calling a governor to look for over 200,000 votes and put it there. I know you can do it, and this is not beyond you. And we call it democracy, and we are clapping. So whose democracy? And democracy for who? If you pay me to vote for you and you say it's free and fair, is that what we're talking about? So, if you have somebody we call a dictator, we all say that Kagame is a dictator. Go to Rwanda and go and see. Authoritarian, we call it. Because the vote was not free and fair. Blah, blah, blah. Go and see what the guy is doing. And go and see how people know where he is going. I have always said, and pardon me for my idiocy or my idiosyncratic idea, I will always prefer a dictator who knows where he's taking me to a Democrat who is a liar and does not know where he is even going. I will always prefer a dictator who knows where he's taking my country. He knows. He's a trait transformational leader and he's whipping all of us to that line, and we'll get there. To a so-called Democrat. So-called, mind you, I use the word so-called because I don't think there are Democrats in this world.
There aren't?
There aren't. Those who believe in the so-called democracy, they buy the democracy and they tell us I'm a Democrat. They buy. Every country. We are buying democracy. We are monetizing democracy. And we say it's democracy. And where has the judiciary and all the institutions worked fairly for the people? In which country? Give me one. It's not there. But where the so-called dictators or the autocrats are, they know where they are taking the country. They whip the people to it. The people accept it, and that's more democratic.
Doc, I will end it here. Thank you so much for your time. It is
Sorry
always
for my
a pleasure.
positions. It scares people away.
Thank you so much for your time. Welcome. Really appreciate your time.
So much.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you. So we've been speaking to Dr. Vladimir Antwi Danso, former Dean and Director of Academic Affairs of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. And it's been very thought-provoking, if you ask me. My name is Harriet NARTEY, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side. Thank you so much for watching.
Truly African.